Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 231 of our Get Your Goals Annual Challenge. And today we're talking about humor, thus my Pippi Longstocking hairdo, and what it has to do with achieving our communication goals. Humor, of course, is a tool to engage people, to break down barriers, to find common ground, to leave a lasting positive impression and impact, hopefully positive impression and impact on the person that you're communicating with. And that all helps us to achieve our communication goals, right? We're usually trying to achieve some kind of a connection with people when we're communicating with them, or we're usually trying to convey a message or get our intent or our motivation across in order to build a relationship or whatever else our goal is, to build a relationship, to get them to do something, to get us to do something, etc. There's different types of humor, and humor, I'm going to share 3 tips about using humor, and then our action item today is to rate ourselves and answer the question, how humorous are you? Do you use humor right now in your communication and in your life? I guess I put on a scale of 1 to 100 or 1 to 10, whatever works for you. It's kind of the same thing, right? I like to interchange them because sometimes I want more detail in terms of judging my performance on something, but really if you just remove the 0, it's the same thing. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how funny are you? How humorous are you? And then do you use humor? And I'm going to share a couple of different types. Humor can take different forms, right? There's types of humor. There's satire and irony. There's wordplay and puns, which I do pretty often. Satire and irony, not so much. Maybe people think I'm ironic or satirical, but I don't do it intentionally. But wordplay and puns, what things mean, I do a lot of that. I like to find funny ways of expressing things. One of the things I love to do right now is with my granddaughters, make up songs. Like make up songs when you're changing their diaper and stuff. Now, if you know and have ever heard my voice, it's like a rusty 8-hinge, but they're not old enough yet to tell me to not sing. That's coming. It's coming very soon with my 2-year-old granddaughter. She's going to be like, shh, Grandma, don't sing. Or, shoo, Grandma, go away. Because my singing is that bad. But that's okay. I am totally okay with not having a great voice or being able to sing. And then there's observational humor. And comedians, if you've ever been to a comedian show or watched a comedy on television, which who hasn't seen a comedy movie or a comedy show or a comedy sitcom, there's so much comedy and humor used in entertainment nowadays. It would be pretty hard, at least in America, to have lived, to be 20 even and not be exposed to some kind of comedy. Humor is a great connector. It can be a great connector. The thing about humor is it's personal, and it has an ability to have a positive impact, but a negative effect as well. It can very easily offend other people. So we want to be careful about who we're talking to and what we're saying and who we're saying it to, because we might think it's funny, but they might have a total different experience or meaning with it, and they might think that it's offensive. And we don't want to offend people. We want to be sensitive and make sure that we are, if we're using humor, we're using it appropriately. We're using it at the right time, the right place, with the right audience, etc. But humor as a connector has the ability to build a bridge between people, between the differences that we have. It transcends differences often because a lot of the things every day in observational humor, especially, lots of us, millions of us, are observing the same thing at the same time, and therefore it becomes funny. It builds and fosters a sense of camaraderie, which is what we want when we're building relationships. And we want to break down barriers and overcome differences and find out where we're the same with respect to any area and aspect of communication, but humor is one of those as well. So what are some tips to craft a humorous message or humorous content, especially on social media? I'll tell you what, I would say on a scale, I'm going to share right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as humor goes, I'm probably about a 3. I'm not a very funny person. I don't have good timing and delivery. I have a sister who's like a 9 or a 10. She's just incredible. But I didn't get that gift when it comes to any type of humor or communication. She used to tell us all a joke of a day and stuff, and she's just super funny. She worked at a comedy club, and she is amazingly witty and punny and can find the right retort to almost any situation. Me, on the other hand, yeah, like a 3. Maybe when I'm funny, I'm a 4, but otherwise, not so much. So I personally avoid humor. I look for props like weird hairdos and things, and weird props that I make for bouncing off walls. But for the most part, I'm pretty serious, pretty straight and narrow. And as my action item today, I answered the question. So do I use humor? Not very much. And then I'm going to ask myself, well, how could I find ways to positively be better at humor and incorporate humor into my communication so that I am more relatable and so that people do find me entertaining and funny sometimes. So what are some tips to do that? Number one, we need to understand our voice and who we are and what level of humor and what type of humor works for us and what type of humor doesn't work for us. I guess I am probably pretty ironic, so maybe that would work for me. As far as satire goes, I'd have to learn about that and work on that. Wordplay and puns are pretty easy for me personally because I'm very interested in vocabulary and what things mean. Number two, we want to embrace wordplay, right? We want to look for ways to take things and make them memorable, and humor makes things memorable. And then finally, we want to remember that relatability is key. If people can't relate to what you're being humorous about, it's going to fall flat and it's not going to have the positive effect that you want it to. Now, a lot of comedians, if you've ever listened to comedy shows, and my other sister owned a comedy club in Dallas, Texas back in the 80s, and so I had a lot of exposure to some of the most famous comedians right now and really popular, amazing comedians, and got to watch how they, and actually experience how they did their material, how they operated, and some things would just fall flat, and then they would take those out of their routine and they wouldn't use those anymore. So we have to test and try and figure out what works for us, just like a comedian would do. So I love this. I actually really like this topic, and I'm kind of excited about it because it's an area that I want to be better in and want to improve in, so that I am more relatable, so that I can find different ways of presenting things and communicating. That would be one of my goals, so that people understand and get me more than sometimes I think they do. So what's our action item today? How funny are you? Scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, whatever works for you. And do you use humor now? And if not, what's one way you could apply humor to your communication, right? All right, have an awesome day. Any questions, hit me up. If you want to make a comment about my hair, that's okay, because I've gotten thick skin and I can take it. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow, back with my normal 80s hair. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.